The first time I actually met Radhi was before I became a monk. And I met her very briefly. I thought she was beautiful and attractive, but I didn't really think anything of it. Like I genuinely just was so focused on what I was doing at life at that time. And I was so spiritually inclined and spiritually focused that I literally didn't think anything of it.
Yeah, and my mum introduced me to you.
Yes, so I should tell that story.
Yeah.
So actually I met Radhi's mum even before I met her.
Yeah.
And so I was training to become a monk and I met Radhi's mum and I was asked to show her how to do a particular service at the temple. So I had to take her around, etc. Now the incredible thing about this is that is the only time
you ever
while I was there that I was ever asked to show another person how to do this service. So the one day that I had to show someone how to do this particular service, this voluntary service at the temple, was the one day that her mum turned up. And at that time, I didn't know she had a daughter. I didn't know anything about this lady. I was like, oh, she's around my mum's age.
Yeah.
And she was wonderful and we got along, but I was just showing her what to do and then literally didn't speak to her.
No. And then my mum wanted me to get more involved in, and I really wanted to get more involved in like the spiritual side of my life. And so she met him and wanted me to get introduced to the youth community there. And so she passed on my number to you, but you passed it on to your sister.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I passed it on to my sister. I was like, no, I need to stay focused, do my thing. And my sister's very spiritually inclined too. Big shout out to Amy. And then you guys got connected and you became friends.
Yeah, and actually at that point, my mum had said to me, oh, I met this really nice guy at the temple. And she was like to me, oh, after I met him, I prayed. And I was like, oh, I hope my daughter meets somebody like this. I know he's going to be a monk, but I hope she meets someone that's like this because he seems really nice. Little did he know what was going to happen. And then what happened? He became a monk. Mm-hmm. I heard you speak. Oh, I heard him speak all the time because he used to do lots of youth programs or university talks. And so,
sessions on philosophy, meditation.
Yeah, philosophy, meditation. And I was just like, oh my gosh, he's such an incredible speaker. And the way that he makes such incredible wisdom so relevant to us who are like young teenagers or not young teenagers.
You weren't a teenager.
I was a teenager. I was still a teenager.
No, you weren't.
18?
No, you weren't.
No way. How old was I?
One thing you're going to realize throughout this whole interview is that I'm the one who remembers all the dates. I'm the one who remembers everything.
Yeah, I don't remember anything. I barely remember things that happened like 2 years ago. So no, I wasn't a teenager. I was out of university, which feels like a long time ago. So I was in my 20s and I saw him speak and I just thought it was so incredible how he was able to articulate such deep wisdom in a way that was so relevant to people who were so young and probably wouldn't have been so interested in reading a book about it. And so I was in awe of him, and he also looked really cool. He had like a bald head. He didn't look like the type of person who was going to be speaking about these things. He had like tattoos and a bald head, but then he was in robes. And I was like, this is really, really cool, but weird at the same time.
You're so strange.
Yeah.
and then when I left being a monk, which is a whole story in itself. We can talk about that another day. When I left being a monk, her and my sister were really, really close.
Yeah.
And me and my sister are really, really close. I trust my sister. She's one of my best friends. And I sat down with her one day and she said, well, you know what? Radhi likes someone. And I was just like, oh, who? And I was thinking she was going to say some other person's name. And she's like, she really likes you. And I was like, oh, I really like her. Like, I'd love to get to know her better. And we'd interacted. We'd got to know each other a bit better because we'd organized charity events together, etc. Yeah. And so I'd seen her not in the role of being a girlfriend, obviously, or someone that I was dating. I'd seen her interact with other people, other humans, inside a project management organization, organizing events. So I'd seen her personality and like observed how she behaved around certain people, how she had talked to people, how she interacted with people. And based on all those things, I thought she was a great person. So when my sister told me that, I was secretly quite happy as well.
And I always heard about him through his sister, and his sister would talk about him with so much love and affection, and he treats her like she's his baby. No matter how old she gets, she's literally like his baby. And I used to see like conversations between them. I used to be like, oh my gosh, he's so sweet. Like he's so sweet, even though he's gone off being a monk, but he was still really, really caring and loving towards his sister and his family. And then, I had told her that I liked him before he knew about it, or before you'd probably even thought about it.
Yeah. So then that was it, really. That's how we met. We almost met before I became a monk.
We hadn't really had conversations,
etc. Never had conversations, never spoke, but had just seen each other in our own elements.
Yeah.
And then when I left being a monk, later that year, we started going out. And so that was around towards the end of 2013.
And then it just went really fast. We both kind of, as soon as we spoke about it, we both knew that we wanted to be with each other, and we were really certain about it. And it could have gone really wrong, but we were like, we could have both been really crazy, but it ended up just working out. We both really had kind of understood each other just by observing one another, I guess. And there were a few surprises, I'm sure, but we got along straight away, and we were both pretty much went from, I really like you, to, I love you, in like a day. And then it was like, we want to get married in like a week. As in, we didn't get married in a week, but we said we wanted to get married eventually in a week after that. And then we ended up spending a lot of time at each other's homes, right? He was spending a lot of time at my house for ages. That's pretty much where I took him to have all of our dates, because I loved being around my family, and I was like, best of both worlds. I can be around the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with, and the people that I've spent most of my life with. And so, most of our dates would involve my parents and my sister and my brother-in-law at the time. And so we got to know each other kind of in our own environments as well, really fast, which I think helped us fast forward a lot easier.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I remember that my sister gave me like an action plan. She's like, this is what you're going to get along on. This is what you're going to struggle with. These are going to be your challenges. And I definitely owe it to her to bring us together. I think she was a huge part of us being together, my sister, definitely. And she was like, because she knows me so well, and I feel she got to know you well as well, she was just like, this is what you guys are going to agree on. This is what you're not going to agree on. And it was so nice to have that.
Yeah.
Because you could go into a relationship having more understanding of the other person.
Can I just say, one of the things she said that we wouldn't get along on is Bollywood, because I loved Bollywood songs and films at the time. But you like a good Bollywood song?
Questionable.
Once in a while.
Questionable. But I decided to get over that.
Yeah.
And you barely. You've got to go over it.
Still have a love for it.
But we spent a lot of time at each other's parents' homes and with our families, which was great because you had to be yourself. I used to love what your mum used to tell you.
My mum was so funny. So obviously, like, it was a person to her that was, we were dating, and so usually you would put in a lot of effort in the way that you dress and doing your hair when the person you're dating comes over. But I would literally be in the same clothes that I was wearing like the whole day, which was pretty much like pajama bottoms and a really scruffy top. And my mum would be like, do you not want to maybe, put a different top on, or you don't want to change your trousers? I was like, no, Mum, if he can't love me in what I'm wearing right now, which is what he's probably going to see me in for the rest of his life, then it's just not meant to be. Okay, he has to love me for. And she'd be like, okay, but you could try, a little bit. I was like, no. And it worked, so. And she's so beautiful and cute. Like, even when she's dressed all hobo chic, I'm just like, I love it, And it's quite nice, actually. Like, I genuinely believe this. Like, I've rarely see her with makeup on. Yes.
And so, like, it's fun when you fall in love with someone based on who they are and their personality and their energy, and all of that beauty shines through. So, I love it. So that leads us nicely on to the next point that our friends wanted to discuss, which is, what's the key to starting off a relationship well? What's the key to starting it off well? So one thing for me was this, that because we didn't see each other in dating environments a lot, I feel like dating environments put this pressure of being in an interview. So I compare dates to interviews. It's almost like you have to put your best foot forward. You wear your best clothes. You try and say all the best things. And even if it's not the best, actually, it's us trying to be right. And that's what we do in interviews. When you go and interview for a job, it's like you want to be the right fit
for that person.
Yeah, and that's what happens in a dating scenario. Like, you're sitting opposite a desk, just like you do in an interview, and then someone's asking you a question, and you're like, okay, well, what do I have to say to make them like me or to say the right thing? Whereas we didn't really get to do that.
No.
And I'm not saying that that was a conscious choice, but now when I look back at it and I reflect on it and introspect on it, I'm like, we didn't really get an opportunity to date in that sense. And that means that I got exposed to the real her, either by seeing her in a charity organization, seeing her in a real life scenario, how does she treat normal people, and then how she is with her family. And I'm like, that's the best view you can get of someone. And so when I look at that in terms of giving advice or tips or whatever, my recommendation is be around people that you're thinking about being with in an environment where they're just being themselves.
Yeah.
Because chances are, if you like them the way they are when they are with other people, then you're likely to love them when they're with you too. And so often we only see people that we are considering being romantic with or dating with, etc. We only see them in dates and dinners and movie nights and whatever it is, right?
Yeah, I agree. I feel like you seeing, and also seeing people with the people that they're closest to, because you can't really fake it with the people that you're closest to. I mean, and if you can, you could do it for a really short period of time. And you also end up seeing them being probably at their worst and at their best, because you can be the most loving to your family, but you can also be the worst person towards your family because they're the ones that accept it. And so, yeah, I feel like you get a good image of who the person is through interacting with them that way.
Absolutely, yeah.
Good point.
Thanks.
Nicely said.
It's true, yeah. And the other thing is, so when we first got together, I'd left being a monk probably like 7 months before. So it'd been like a 7-month gap. And I didn't have a job. I had no job. I had no money.
No.
I was getting rejected left, right, and center from every single place that I was applying to, because I'd been a monk for 3 years and no one wanted to hire someone who had monk written on their resume. Like no one's like, oh yeah, I would love your transferable skills. Like, you know, like what do you know? And so, oh, you can meditate for 4 hours. Great, we need that in our organization. So it was just, I had nothing really.
Yeah.
And that's a great way to start dating someone, because I remember I used to save up. So I used to like try and work part-time and I was doing everything I could.
You were tutoring.
I was tutoring. So I would be tutoring young people for their exams or university exams, etc. And I would be making like, £15 an hour or whatever it was. And I remember I'd save up so I could take her out on a date at the end of the month, and so that we could do something fun. And I loved that because I met her at a time when I had nothing, and she accepted me for it.
Yeah.
And I love her for that. And also her parents were always really cool about it. So sometimes that can be a big pressure from parents and expectations, but her parents were really cool about it. They never made me feel uncomfortable about it or anything. And my parents obviously were very comfortable with me. They were just like, follow your heart, do what's right for you. Very, very encouraging. And I don't come from a well-off background at all or anything. So it's not that I had a backup plan, but my parents were still very, very encouraging and supportive.
Yeah, I that was never in my mind, to be honest. I knew I wanted to be with you, and so I was like to my mum, even if we end up living in a really tiny house, just by like near the temple that I used to go to, and just I know that I want to spend my life with him. So whatever it ends up being, and you were really, really enthusiastic, and you had so much purpose, and even from the beginning, like you were so driven to do whatever you wanted to do. I didn't know what that was at the time, but you were so driven that I just knew whatever it was, whatever we were meant to be was what was going to happen. And I knew you would always like going to be there to take care of me, and I felt that from the beginning. Like I always felt supported. You want to hold hands? Yeah, I'm not good at PDA, so I'm going to not do that.
Oh my God, just been rejected on camera.
There you go. Yeah, so that was it was really nice, and I feel like he had a lot of the qualities that I always felt. I would always grow up saying, oh, I really want a husband that was like my dad. Like I love my dad, and he was always someone that I felt very protected and supported by. And so I definitely, now looking back at it, I felt those qualities in him as I got to know him. And so I thought, yeah, that was nice. And my parents didn't carry that. I always thought it would be, you always think in Indian families that's going to be an issue. But they loved him from the start. He's got really good, I don't know whether you guys have noticed, but he's got a really good way of saying things and winning people over by his words. So
it's real though.
I know, that's why it's genuine and it's sweet. So from those interactions, I think my parents trusted him very easily as well.
I really get along with your parents.
I know. Yeah, and it was so great for me because Amy was already like my sister, and me and your mum got along straight away because we bonded over food. And so yeah, it was really easy for us both to join into each family.
But yeah, another thing I think that's really important at the start of a relationship is self-awareness and setting expectations. So I feel that having done the work as a monk and having been through that experience myself, I'd gained so much self-awareness. So I was really aware of what type of partner I needed in my life. I was really aware of what I needed in my life to flourish, to thrive. And so when I met someone, it was very easy for me. It was very easy and simple for me to communicate my expectations to her and be like, I remember one of the things I said, and this is not offensive at all, it's genuinely how I felt at the time. And I said that if you want a husband who goes to IKEA on the weekends and to the cinema, like, I'm not that guy. And I didn't mean that as a bad thing if anyone is that. What I meant that as is, I want to be someone who lives a life of purpose, and I want my life to be about service, and I want my life to have an impact on people's lives. And I need a partner that's gonna understand that, embrace that, and roll with that as well, and wants to live not a normal life, because that wasn't going to work for me if I really wanted to have an impact, if I really wanted to make a difference, if I really wanted to serve. And so that wasn't an ego thing. It wasn't me thinking I'm better or above or special. It was me saying, this is a priority for me, and I don't need it to be your priority, but I need you to understand it to be mine. And I think this is really important, that we should feel that if we're genuinely committed to something, when you make someone aware, and same back from her side too, like when she'll share hers, but when she's made me aware of what her priorities are and what's important to her, you start respecting what's important to the other person rather than expecting them to trade theirs, right? And that's usually what happens in relationships in the beginning is, instead of showing respect for the other people's passion, you expect them to change their passion for yours or compromise and be excited about your stuff. And I don't think that that's the right way. I think it's us being clear about ourselves, communicating that, and then respecting what the other person communicates.
And I think we discussed that really early on, actually.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
just to be clear, he has come to IKEA with me on the weekends.
And movies too.
Yeah, movies too. But yeah, no, I understood the point of it. And I remember at that time when he was really pushing for what he wanted to do, he was very, very busy. And so there were certain things, I mean, he spent a lot of time with me and my family, but we had just agreed that, look, if there was extended things that I had to go to, because with families, there's always other things that you have to go to, like family, friends, or relatives' houses for every event possible. And if that happened, then I knew that I was okay with him not coming to them. And I said that to him from the beginning.
You're
that
amazing as well for that.
if you need to go and do something which is, I know for you, more important, not because for the purpose that you want to live, then I totally understand that comes above you just coming to another party, which people are not probably going to remember. Like, it's okay. And I think that was actually really important for us, because you can always hear what other people say, like family members or friends or whatever will always have a different opinion. And so as long as you feel like you have discussed it and you really understand that person's point of view, then you don't feel it doesn't rub off on you when people say things, because you understand it deeply. Whereas if you don't, then I think it's really easy to get swayed by other people's view of life or other people's way of relationships or whatever it is. Like, that can rub off on you very easily. But if you really understand that person and why they're doing it, I think that can make a big difference to you supporting them in why they're doing it.
Thank you. If you want even more videos like this one, click on the boxes over here. Now, I'm really excited to let you know that you can now pre-order my new book, Think Like a Monk, and you can click here right now to do that. Pre-order it today.